Hello, hello. Doing a little test of maybe a quick test of a daytime stream. Still getting used to these notifications from Discord and things like that. I'm not sure if it was coincidental, but manage my channel directly from your phone. Yeah, there's a lot of things that I need to get up to speed with. I'm seeing that let's see, the art category, according to Twitch here, has 3.9 million followers and only 14,000 viewers. That being the total possible audience currently viewing right now. That's a very small fraction of the possible amount of followers. Interestingly, although that is a small number, it's almost twice as much as is around at 10 p.m., which is normally when I stream. So this is a little bit of an experiment, and I'm not trying to broadcast anything, so I didn't post anything on the Discord, and I don't much care if anybody is actually listening. But if possible, if on days when I'm not booked and not too busy with other things, I can do a daytime stream and maybe use that time to focus on some of the more mundane aspect of storyboarding this project, which is basically the rendering, and it's a sort of a technical process of which I have several hacks that aren't necessarily entertaining, and I might just be distracted with drawing, and I might not talk as much, so it might be a mixed bag of like, hey, this actually isn't as much fun to watch as when he's roughing out these ideas and engaging with people who are listening and typing and things like that. So that's just, it may be a worthwhile thing, and it may not be, but I think it could be cool. So if anybody is just stumbling upon this, which is possible, what I'm trying to do here is create a portfolio of storyboards for basically spec work to make a portfolio that I could hopefully use as some sort of leverage to be a storyboard artist on the new Zelda film, because that would be very cool if that happened. And I do this type of stuff professionally. I do storyboards for game trailers and advertising and short form entertainment. So, and I love Zelda, and so why not? Why not try? So, the good news is that this has been about a month and a half in the making, and there's actually a lot of work that we are in a good place now to finally start putting together something. I have a lot of artwork that's already been drawn in rough form that I can start laying out into a template, my 2K template, which is what I intend to start doing right now. And it's a little bit of busy work, which is why I don't mind seeing it happen on this time slot, because it's not necessary to have it take up all the time in the world. So let's see here. This one, let's zoom in a bit. And we could, it's a little bit of a retrospective, right? This is Link. He's got the power hammer or something like that, and it's he's taking on the Helmasaur King. A fun frame. We did at least a few streams ago. So we'll copy this and we will paste it into the template. And don't show again. Okay. Looks like I drew that at a lower resolution than I could have / should have. Now that makes me wonder, was that really, maybe I was drawing this at 4K. Let's see this. What is this resolution? Yeah, 1920 by 1080. Okay, so I just ended up drawing this original sketch a little too small. I should actually just resize everything so that it is at the proper resolution. And we'll do that with some batching, and we'll do that in a second. We come up to here. And in addition to what's already been exported, we're also going to export this drawing and the one I did last night, which was Flute Boy. And they both look great. So let's just use the Finder. Perfectly good. System. Organizing our drawings. Okay. Into ready. I'm going to earlier I did, of course, these studies, and these are perfectly good drawing studies, but these are not anything close to original artwork, really, because I basically did, this is, if you recognize it, sketches from previous, link, existing link. Oh, cool. Vic Destiny, thank you for joining. This is a experimental one, so and only because I've noticed that the amount of viewers in the art category is significantly higher during the daytime. But that's it. This is not. I'm not actually going to be doing much drawing right now. I'm going to organize this stuff into a template. But I appreciate you joining in. Okay, so this stuff was early on. I was just sort of loading my brain up with the existing canon of Zelda art, just doing different types of studies. But these are not storyboard frames. They're not key art as far as anything that is part of my project. This was just homework, basically. So I'm going to take these out of the whole set. Set that aside. Good. Okay. Now we can add in Flute Boy. Yeah, Flute Boy and Zora are there. Let's rename this whole set. I have a small sense of urgency about this because I found out I'm getting booked tomorrow, just on this very small commercial job that I already know I'm not going to love. But it's a luggage commercial. Isn't that fun? And there's nothing like working on a project that you don't want to be on to make you want to get on a project that you do want to be on. So, while I have just this little bit of downtime, a window, if you will, oh, you know what? If I batch rename all of... I can't do it that way. I have to do it manually. But it can be fun to do it here, because at least it's more visual. You can see these thumbnails. Alright. Basically, number 3 needs to be number 1. And then number 4 needs to be number 2. This will be tedious. Like I said, this was not the... This is not the primetime show. Oop. See, I'm not even doing this right. But once I have these organized into a template, my template of 24 frames, I can use my mental and muscle memory to render them out. And the important thing about putting them all into a big template and working on all of them at the same time is that it will unify the appearance of the rendering. Because right now, I mean, these do look good. And in fact, there's something so precious about the roughness and the loveliness of the impulsiveness, and dare I say the inebriatedness of a lot of these sketches. But what I really do want this to be is a sampling of my professional offerings, and it's not really, I don't really work like this. This is sort of like an audience sort of participation kind of approach, which is slower and, although very productive, I'm happy to say, and extremely engaging for me. It was able to absolutely captivate me as a project, where it was, at first I was just like, well, we'll see if this even interests me, let alone anybody else. But this has definitely been a lot of fun so far, and I really appreciate everybody chiming in with suggestions or just encouragement, because this is a total long shot, but I'm okay with that. In the worst case scenario, nothing happens, I make some friends online, I have some cool drawings I did. That's worth it enough. "24" is a somewhat arbitrary, but has been consistently accurate number of the amount of sort of frames. Kind of early chill time, yeah. The amount of frames, welcome. The 24 frames is a number that I shoot for, like storyboard frames. That's a number I shoot for in my professional day job to basically account for what feels like a very strong day's output for a commercial. So a 30-second commercial is often represented in storyboards between 18 and 21 frames. And I know that if I get 24, I have more than enough. So that's what I always try to shoot for, is basically filling an entire page. And then I know that at the end of the day that, like, hey, good or bad, look at all this work I did. It may not be perfect, but you can't say I didn't give you something for the time you paid me for. So that's kind of where I go with it. It also looks really good laid out, as we'll see. And it's always been sort of my system. My system is not a standard system. There is no standard system in storyboarding. Apart from, I guess, Toon Boom is the sort of standard, program, I guess, in feature animation, but is by no means the only one. And it has its flaws. And here I'm just reviewing, for the sake of the possible unannounced lurkers, some of the work we've already been doing. Some of these I'm extremely compelled by. And this one, especially, I am not compelled by it. And this one is, I got my target set on it because I don't like it for a few reasons. I'll go over them later. But yeah, part of this is just review and consolidate, see where we're at with the progress, and probably not do much drawing at all. But here we can see. I remember being especially drunk when I drew this, and it's not like it's like terrible, but it isn't. I mean, right away I can see that done a terrible thing here, where I've got both his left hand sort of in front of him. His left arm is in front of him, and his left leg is in front of him. And I don't know how I effed that up, because I would never do that if I was paying attention and sort of self-questioning. I remember this being a particularly lonely one. I don't believe I had anybody joining me for this one, and I think it shows. I felt like it was easy for me to sort of mentally tune out, maybe. And I was exhausted at the time, but it wasn't. I think it shows. It doesn't even look like the Tektite is properly biting him. It looks like it's biting the side of him. It's supposed to be getting him in the shoulder. I don't like the way his face is totally screened by his shoulder. Like we don't get much appreciable link. It doesn't look like he has a sword right up into his shield. He's supposed to be climbing the rocks to Death Mountain, basically. And these Tektites and the boulders, that happen to be on Death Mountain, I mean, if I recall, are trying to get him. And it's sort of that cool dynamic scene. But it's too close up. It's too we don't really have any appreciable sense of Death Mountain. There's no scale, and it's too many. This is not good either. The Tektites here, they're all of relative same size and proportion. Same thing with these, like this rock hitting is like the same size as this thing, and there's just this sameness about it. It just looks like a lump of mashed potatoes, and where it at first blush you'd be like, hey, cool drawing, it's got cool things happening in it, and you can see what's what, but it could be so much better. So we're not going to this will not make the final cut. We will revisit it, maybe strike it entirely, maybe replace it with a entirely new image, or we can which is what I think. When you stream, you should set up a slideshow like miniature preview of your work for people who are not familiar with your work. I appreciate you saying that. I agree, and I've learned that there is a slideshow thing, and I was curious if there are projects that are NDA and I can't really get to them, but there are projects that I don't care about that are also NDA, but maybe I can do them anyway. I've been doing this a long time, so actually I have a large library of stuff that's cool to show, even if it's 10 years old. And I like that idea. So, Destiny, you have made the you have tipped the scale. Your suggestion is will be enacted forthwith. But that had occurred to me, so I only give you partial credit for the origination of the idea. But yes, that is a good idea, and if nothing else, it will be a little bit entertaining when I'm just yammering into the into the microphone, not drawing, sipping my Coca-Cola. I'm trying to cut back on my drinking, so I substituting it now with sugary beverages, but okay, so we can initiate that. Let's look at some of these other ones. This was a fun one. My brother basically creative directed this one live, and I called it Moblin Madness, but I'm not sure if that's exactly what these characters are called. That's just what I called it. I've never played Zelda, and I don't know anything about digital art, so I appreciate the yammering. This is part art, part creative flow, part community. It's a little bit. If I could give you a small peek into my my existence these past few years. So I used to go to studios, like actually go on site to studios. One of my features was I was perfectly willing and in fact enjoyed going to random studios, just 2-3 days, booking, setting up, and with my laptop and my mini Wacom. And I would draw, made to order, basically storyboards in front of people. And I used to have basically an audience, a community that way. And what has happened since COVID is all of my studio work is now remote, and there were advantages to that because I have two small children, and it was nice for them to have some time with me, I guess, more present, not commuting and being on the freeways and such. But I've missed the sort of accountability that comes with having people that might be looking over my shoulder. It was good networking, even if you guys aren't producers in Hollywood and stuff like that. You never really know. There is just some way that information finds its way around, and if nothing else, I find you very good company for what I'm trying to do, which is a long shot. And I have to apologize. I am going to go do something disgusting in the bathroom. I'm still fighting my cold a little bit. Okay. I promise. Hope to never do that again. But that was something I had to. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit crude at times. I won't be farting on this stream ever, but because I can at least control that. But if I'm gonna talk and like produce saliva, and then like shit's dripping down my nose, I'm sorry, it's too much. Anyway, moving on. I really have noticed an improvement in my attitude about my work and my outlook about the future since starting this stream. It's sort of filling a hole that was occurring that I didn't know was affecting me that badly. So anyway, I appreciate this, and just any attention at all is nice. You don't have to stick around for all the yammering and stuff like that, but this is just fun for me. So let's get back to zoom back in. Okay, this is a cool one. This is the Aquamentus, which is a sort of a peculiar dungeon boss in the first Zelda game that looked nothing like, or it looked like Puff the Magic Dragon. So I had to, and it was offensive to me. Do you think it was like a freeing feeling of showing more people your work? Yes, because I'm very much as a career guy, I'm a behind the scenes guy. My work is not showcased, and a lot of, I put a lot of good ideas out there, and then like other people take the credit for it and stuff like that, and it's a little annoying sometimes. I'm paid well when I'm working and stuff like that, so I'm okay with most of that, but also I'm I don't know, I don't, especially with working remotely, like it's like I'm interacting on, it used to be that at least I could schmooze and have fun and joke around with people sitting next to me, other artists. I could make friends that way. I can't do that like when I'm in like just surrounded by my own crap. It's not the same. And I hope for some people working from home is good. It did have advantages for me, but I'm not at my best when I'm working at home, and not being inspired to do my best was affecting my psyche or something. So yes, I do feel like it was a freeing feeling, showing more people my work. This is even more, I think, interesting to me than, because being on site with other people had its own downsides. It's like sometimes people are annoying. You don't want to deal with people, or there are all sorts of bad things that can go down, in person. But here it feels like a good mix of both, where I'm and this project in particular, I actually have some control over what I'm doing. I just take really bad scripts and try to polish them so that they're somewhat palatable, and and if I succeed, other people get the credit. Where's the incentive? Oop, I didn't mean to do that. Let's see here. Are these all out of order? What am I doing? You can always turn the stream off if you feel like it too. Absolutely. There's not a it's not a mandate. It feels more like it just feels like a fun thing that has me excited. Here's Link. Yeah, so this was Link. This is like young Link. He's in this spooky graveyard. You know, there's a ghost. This is a sort of interesting take on the ghosts that have been... My wife is calling, but she's not necessarily calling me about an emergency, so I'm gonna let her sort of go to voicemail, and she will call me back if that is an emergency. So, this is a fun spooky scene featuring young Link, and you know, different elements. That, like, this owl is from one of the games. There's this spooky kind of gargoyle figure that's from Link to the Past. The graveyards have always been this fun theme. What else? Here's Link versus the Wallmaster, which is just this disembodied giant hand that comes down. Giant disembodied hand that comes down and you know, can steal you and pull you back to the beginning of the level. Go wash your hands. Oh, and in the back, you can't see it. Let's see here. In the background, this is a cool... In the original Zelda, there were these statues that would breathe fire and blast it towards you. So this is sort of an homage to the dungeon enemies of the original Zelda. Cool fire. And next. This is a fun one. I really loved how this turned out. The Link versus the... What is this thing called? Manhandla. These funny names. Link is... It was this... It's like the four-headed turtle. Four-headed plant turtle. Like snapdragon thing. And here he is finishing off the last head with a cool arrow. You know, I don't know. It didn't look anything like that really in the game, but, you know, hey, it's my project. I can do what I want. Don't know why that keeps happening. This is a cool one. Very tricky to do justice to Ganon, the main boss of Zelda, but this is my stab. Ganon atop the Pyramid of Power, or the Golden Pyramid, something like that. And, you know, fun lightning bolts, you know, in the dark world. Just some sort of fearsome, corrupted, pig-like, you know, wizard demon thing. Got his trident, all that good stuff. Okay, this is the one that you know, we discussed needs to go. Moblin Madness, Aquamentus. Yeah, and then the water has always been sort of a feature in the Zelda games. So this is fun to have an action of him diving into the water to escape a bad guy. This is a fun early one. I remember this one coming around with my brother bombing the stream. With he raided me. This was my first raid. Happened when this was all happening. I was drawing this, and we had fun chatting about the quality of this bad guy's ass, basically the butt cheeks. And it was funny. But you know, we've got some iconic weapons featured here. The boomerang. There's a bow. Link in a cool dynamic pose, dodging. This guy being badass. It's a cool treasure chest in the background. A bat. Everything. This one's a little trickier to make out, but as I'm drawing, like, I can see it clearly in my head. But this is the Gleeok, which is the three-headed dragon that breathes fire, of course. And what we have here is Link doing this sort of backwards thrusting slice that cuts off the... Like, this is the neck, and this is the cut, and there's the head crashing down, and there's another head that's already fallen, burning down, and then the last head is over here, breathing fire over here. It's just fire and flames everywhere. It's kind of badass. Just doing fun, fun action. This is a more quiet one, but there's we've got Link here. He's not well drawn at all, but he's sort of intruding upon this cavern that has this giant fairy. She's the cursed fairy. She's a fairy that lives in the dark world, and is she's not like the other fairies. She has a different stature, and so I sort of found it as a good reason to try. Hey, welcome back. Good reason to try some different types of, I don't know, and of course we've got some cleavage here because I think it's justifiable, but it's a different kind of mood, and all the fairies live in like water environments, so I kind of turned it into a grotto. It's kind of cool. Still like that one. Yeah, and this one I think is still really strong. Link discovers the Master Sword finally. In A Link to the Past, this takes place in the Lost Woods, Hidden Woods, something like that. And it's whereas in other, he finds the Master Sword in other places in other games. But here, I always liked the way it happened. Finding the sword here, I remember it giving me chills when I was a kid. So that's cool to see. Here, I'll move this up again. And here's another fun one where we see Link. This again is Link to the Past. He gets his first sword from his uncle, who perishes in the dungeon of the castle. And Link basically starts his journey here, and unseen dangers lurk, and there's water, there's mist, there's mysteriousness, it's dark, it's cool. Get a sense of a young but capable Link ready to get going. And then this one, I remember I was so drunk on when I did this one. And that's why you can barely even tell what's going on, but like, this is supposed to be a lever, that's a classic enemy. This is supposed to be like a sand pit creature. This is supposed to be, I don't even know what they're called, but there's these monsters that are like sand monsters, basically. So he's like facing off against 3 monsters. And I drew them well, and then I like just blurred. I didn't know when to stop, and I effed it up. We'll get it back. But yeah, this is potentially cool, but in its present form is just unacceptable. I hate Adobe Bridge sometimes. Okay. This was a good redeeming one. Link versus Helmasaur. Cool hammer versus helmeted thing. And then this little guy down here, I think it's just called a trap, but there's these spiky guys that exist in they're like automatic, impalers, basically. So this is fun. It's just like destruction mayhem. And I couldn't go too long without drawing something with the hookshot, because that's such a cool item. And I think this does it justice. And the enemy below is King Dodongo, which is a I don't know, they're like lizard dinosaurs, but they here, they live in like lava, and they like to, or their weakness is if you throw a bomb in their mouth, kind of a thing. So got him exploding, lava pits down below, and Link is making his escape. Some cool stuff happening here. And then this looks to be out of order, unfortunately, but this is what I did last night. This is the Flute Boy. And I like this one a lot, so I'm glad this one turned out. Okay, and this one is Santa asked me to give you a promo code for 10 viewers. Yeah, this is fun. This is my first bot thing, right? Yeah, we don't need these. I'll take it as a sign of my maturing as a streamer that I've got the attention of really annoying. Yeah, exactly. No, I'm like, hey, clap for me. I've got this really stupid, annoying thing happening. I remember, like, having like my first AOL account and being like, cool, I got mail, and it was any mail you got was good until eventually spam took over pretty much all email, and now it's useless, and now everything is spam pretty much. It's a terrible thing that has happened to technology. So no, we will not be clicking on that, and I hope nobody ever does. Is it safe to trash the thing? Let's see if I can do this. Delete. Oop. Okay, I think I deleted it. I hope I didn't delete. I clicked twice. You should see the longer ones. Jesus Christ. So I guess I'll need a bot or something like that, or a moderator or something eventually, but, you know, for now, that's fun. It's gone. Okay. My apologies if I clicked twice and, okay, thanks everyone. Well, it's a fun little milestone. It's like the first time you get mugged in New York, or I don't know. That's a terrible example, but, you know, first time? Yeah. Okay, then this was the one I did one before last, which was Princess Rutel. And this was a fun one because she's sort of like a sexy naked fish princess, and she gets to have this sort of power play moment with Link, and yeah, I'm de-virginized or something. I'm not sure what the initiated. Okay, so I think that's all of them, but 24. Oh, yeah. Okay, it just starts the cycle again. But yeah, got plenty to work on to fill up all of these guys. Okay, yeah, let's make sure that I actually want Flute Boy right now to be number 24. And then Zora will be 23. Okay. That feels good. And now we can load these up into Photoshop. So let's just quit out of Photoshop. Although I do want to, let's cancel, let's save this. This will be the new project file. Quickly, I'm going to my wife is saying, don't respond to that text you just got from someone who wanted an answer about something. I'm like, okay. So I said, okay, I won't respond. All right, let's see here. We're going to make this, we're going to make a new folder for the project file. Let's just call it Zelda 1A. Very uninspired, but into this we can put each of these drawings, and cool things will start to shape up. Cool things yet to come. I'm going to resize all of the images that we just looked at so that we have them at a higher resolution than I drew them. And then they'll fit in this template, which is it's a 2K template. That's basically 2000 even though it isn't really 2000, it's 2000 images or 2000 pixels wide. But actually, it's 1920, so a little bit short, just like everything in life. Okay. So what that'll do is just make these images bigger, but it'll have all the same information. And we'll put them into a template, and then we'll see how that looks, and we'll just call it a day there. So here's a big blank template, and this is what I was talking about earlier. I would, on a 30-second commercial, I would endeavor to fill all of these boxes with beautiful drawings in an 8-hour time period. It's basically a day. And that's challenging. It requires a lot of discipline, time management, focus, and what I'm hoping to try and do is bring that sort of workflow, that expediency, to the rough images that I've just shown you guys. So because the rendering is a different part of the creative brain. My wife is calling me again. I'm streaming. Is this super important? That's not the way to phrase it. This will be the official. This will be the real thing. Is if is if I try to put the stream above my wife trying to call me. She'll absolutely kill me. So this will be funny. Let me. This is terrible. We don't need to pause the stream. We're just gonna let it go. And I'm going to. I know. I'm gonna be in the doghouse if I don't call her right now. All right, I'm gonna take out my. Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna take out my headphones and we're gonna. Oh yeah. You guys can see around my room now. Okay. I'm gonna disconnect this for right now. Or pause. Yeah. Ah. make sure to mute the mic. I'm not sure if I did that. Ugh! I'm curious if everybody, thank you. Oh, I can't believe anybody even waited. Were you guys able to hear my conversation? Did the music stop? Oh yeah, I did. See, I even stopped the music. See, I didn't die. No, although you wouldn't have been the wouldn't have been a good look for me to just ignore my wife and be like, "Hey, I'm streaming," kind of a thing. Go figure it out yourself, kind of thing. So, but this actually is a good reminder of why I do this in the middle of the night when she's asleep, because these kinds of distractions are. Now I understand, like the ragings of the, like the, you know, you get those streamers, and you can see those outrageous clips of them just sort of being like, "Get out, blah blah blah," you know, "I'm streaming," and all right, I understand the stress a little bit. And meanwhile, we've just been staring at this blank template. That's terrible. All right, we are going to import all of those lovely drawings and lay them out. But the call went well. She just needed a little emotional support for a decision. Negotiations, basically. Difficult stuff. Wait, did I get everything in here? There. Okay. Cool. Well, all this is basically going to get cut and pasted into this template. And I'll get it all lined up a little bit better later. Can't believe this stuff. What's happening? Oh, okay. There we go. There's so many tiny things that you can accidentally click on in these modern interfaces that stuff stops working. You're like, what happened? What did I click on? Does your program have rulers? The program that I used to draw in, which is Painter. Yes, it does, although it's not great. Why do you ask? Like Photoshop has these guides and stuff like that. Once I lay out these first couple images where I want them to be, the rest will fall in line. You can drag the rulers to match the lines to snap the pictures. Yes, that sounds familiar. I don't do a lot of the sort of as a sketch guy, as an ideas guy. I leave the fine pixel tuning, alignments and stuff. I prefer to eyeball and not dedicate precious time to things that time that could be used to draw or think about what I'm going to draw is often best used as that, and not so much making sure something is just perfectly in the right spot. But here, today, we have to sort of make the sacrifice. And so, okay, open up the rest of these. All the keyboard commands for the Painter drawing program are different than Photoshop. Photoshop uses completely different keyboard commands, and so I often default to doing commands from one program and they're not compatible with the other. So that's inefficient. I don't draw or use Photoshop for creative stuff, just layout, and sometimes filters. And Adobe has really positioned itself in a AI-friendly, with an AI-friendly stance, or AI, like boosting AI, pro AI stuff, which is sort of distasteful in my opinion. Would you use rulers just for that template? Yes, I know what you're saying. It would all snap together, but don't you want to see me squirm and struggle at least just a little bit? I can't be perfect at everything. Yes, I did see that. I did, and I'm not surprised, because so I work, as we all know by now, I work in advertising, and it's been interesting seeing the treatments of AI on my day job. The way that well, basically AI right now is probably useful for a lot of things, very questionably ethical. I think legally it's going to be reckoned with, much the way that Napster was. When I was 19 years old, that was happening. But I remember being like, score, Napster, I get all this free music kind of a thing. And then sort of being like, I guess they're right. I guess Napster needs to get sued. I guess all this stuff needs to happen. It was cool being able to download whatever song you wanted for free back in the day. It seems to have sorted itself out now with like Apple Music and Napster, or sorry, Spotify and whatnot. But that's like 20 years later, you know? So, so the prospect of having this sort of entity that is capable of basically, even if it doesn't replace storyboarding, it might replace enough artists to just severely disrupt, my industry. So that even if it's like, let's say that like they're like, I don't know, like an atom bomb explodes, but miraculously your house isn't destroyed, but like everybody else is. It's like, it still sucks. It's like I'm not sure if I care to be the last man standing. If and that's like, it feels like that's the best case scenario right now. What happens like from here? It's like it's just not fun. It's not creative. It's like a at this point, like, they're gonna have to sort all this stuff out in the legal system, in the courts. People who don't understand technology, people who don't understand creativity, old white men with, no imaginations are gonna make these determinations. It's gonna be a bad situation, I fear. But yeah, to shed some context. Yeah, so I lurk on Twitter. I have a Twitter account. I don't really post much at all, really. But but I have an account and I lurk and I see and I follow artists and I see the drama. It shouldn't, like, Wacom should have known better. But what's true at these companies is is like the right hand doesn't know what the left is doing. They are. Yeah, no, it's, and they absolutely deserve to get called out. They deserve all the blowback, all of it, and unfortunately, Wacom, I don't believe, will have a come to Jesus moment, if you'll pardon the expression. They will definitely just basically, be indignant about, whether or not anything, what's the problem, kind of thing. They're not a creativity company, and they don't, I don't think they, I think they're a bit out of touch, unfortunately. I do use their products professionally. I don't know if other substitutes would quite fit the bill for me. I'm quite pleased with my Wacom setups and have been traditionally, but That's a big misstep. Yeah, but I what I also think is possible is like, I know it's like how could it be that a big company didn't know? But it's like there are stupid, idiotic people that work at big companies, and it's entirely possible that they just didn't realize that was a bad thing, and or were just completely, this stuff just gets like, it's like it's run by people on spreadsheets, and like you're like, here's like a nothing budget, and see if you can make it like not go over budget. And the person's like, hey, if we use AI, we won't go over budget. And they're like, cool, artists won't know. It was probably as simple as that. And the same thing, probably same or similar with Wizards of the Coast, although they had already been called out on it. So they were on notice about that shit, and they should have, having been burned once, they definitely should have been more attentive to, hey, can we get like this sort of, can there be like a double checking committee so that we know for sure that the people who are doing the work are actually people and not just robots, or people using robots, even if they say that they're people and not robots, kind of a thing. Because that's the other thing, is it's like, hey, artists can be tempted as well. I can think of, there are definitely outliers, but even in my industry, there are, and there was a good amount of back and forth where they're like, we should all be using AI. Think of the things that we can do if we, use AI. We can use them to color our storyboards. We can make them look like photos. Look at, I took this drawing I did, and look what I turned it into using AI. And of course, it's like this, pervert, it takes the woman and gives her like the world's biggest breasts, and, perfectly, the Vidal Sassoon hair, and the guy is super buff and stuff. And I'm like, that's not applicable to what we do. And the fact that you don't see this is just bizarre to me. But the people can be extremely out of touch with like the reality of the world. I don't know what's happening with directives and people in charge, like what happened to the Unity game engine. Oh, that was funny too. Is this okay? I don't feel like I'm super out of touch anymore because you're referencing all these things. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, the that CEO decided he was going to retroactively charge everybody for a previously free game engine, and everybody was just like, hey, guess who's, guess what's not getting used anymore ever, and guess what? We're never ever going to trust what you say again, ever, kind of a thing. It's like the boneheadedest moves, and it's really no different for the creative companies I work at either. All of my clients in production, like commercial production, are using AI just basically to make shortcuts and save money. And they're gonna do that because they were already making every shortcut they could. If they could steal, it's like, to them, it's like whatever artist is trending on Twitter, they take that style and they hire another artist to basically replicate it, kind of a thing. Well, this was just one more step out of the equation. They can just take the style and not even hire another artist to do it. They can just steal it, and have the robot do it. And it always gave me a sick feeling in my stomach to just be like, that's not a good thing to do. Unfortunately, there's a lot of artists out there with clean hands too. So this actually is a good segue into something that I don't talk about a lot, but part of the reason I'm recording and broadcasting what I'm doing here is to prove that I have abilities beyond just sort of like saying, hey, AI, you come up with, like, part of the reason I'm engaging with you guys on the creative level when I do these sketches is because I need like something to be able to be like, because right now what's happening is even artists that are innocent are being accused of using AI, and it's getting really hard to tell what is and isn't. Obviously there are some great examples of like, oh, this isn't AI, and then you catch them, feel so good. But there's a lot that goes under the radar, and artists are going to be tempted because it's competitive out there. So what I'm doing here is sort of like, and that's why I'm like, hey, what should we do today, guys? I'm trying not to have a plan when I come up with some of this stuff, because I want it to feel like I can spontaneously generate uh, cool compositions on a theme in a demonstrably saleable kind of manner, and without using AI. And in fact, you see, it's like when I use a reference, I like show you guys what it is, and then I put it away, and then I do my own take on it. I don't want to copy other people's stuff. It isn't necessary for many artists. Unfortunately, it is necessary, and I understand why. I'm a highly naturally skilled artist, but and a lot of that is unfair. It's just like genetics. It's like being born 8 feet tall. You're gonna be good at basketball. No one credits you for being 8 feet tall as if it was a decision you made or you trained to be 8 feet tall. You're just 8 feet tall. You're good at basketball. Good for you. And, get out there and game. But in a similar sense, like I have a lot of like raw artistic talent that, frankly, I've squandered being, drunk and high half my life and stuff like that. But at the same time, I do work hard, and but this is a good way for me to show that I don't rely on the crutches that a lot of artists, even if they deny it, do rely on. And I can do things. I don't mind making changes. It's and I can always make sure that the fingers and the feet are doing the right thing, and that the corner, there's no weirdness, and if there is, I can fix it. Kind of a thing. I don't want to see the world go into a place where AI is just taking over everything and replacing everything. It has the potential to really disrupt. Because even if there's a place in the world for really, like, for high-level artists like myself, if it comes at the cost of like everybody on the way up having their career path totally destroyed, it'll just be depressing. I won't want to do it anymore. I don't know what it'll be, but it'll be sad. So yeah, and there are a lot of people out there who are like, well, all artists steal and all artists do this stuff, and I guess it's true to an extent. Here's a non-shocker. I don't own Zelda. This is an IP that I have no license to do anything with. I'm calling this spec work. This is fan art. I'm just doing what everybody else is doing, basically. But is it a perfectly legal thing to do? Not really. This is not a Nintendo didn't tell me I could do this kind of a thing. But Nintendo also doesn't literally sue everybody who draws Zelda fan art. So whether or not it's acceptable or whatever, this is, I think, in my industry, spec work is a thing. You do actually do a good amount of, it's speculative, basically. You do it on the hope that things will go in a way where you'll get the job, kind of a thing. And that's not a bad thing. So this is sort of in that guise. That's kind of the reason I want to start learning to draw. There are times when I use them to portray them, but I don't want to rely on AI or something. Yes, you should. There are a trillion great ways to learn to draw and get your ideas on paper or on digitally without. See, the AI is this corrupting, it's this bad thing that is like, it's like worse than drugs. It's like worse than the instant gratificationness and the sort of, it's not art, it's the conceit of art. It's the thin veneer of the, it's like gold leaf on like a piece of lead, like a worthless brick or something like that. It's all the shininess without the actual substance. My wife is calling again, and I'm gonna let her know I'm still streaming. I'm encouraged that. Hold on, what just happened? It looks like my thing. Can you hear me? I'm not sure if it. There it is. Yeah, it was interrupting my phone. Well, hopefully I don't have to dash again. Anyway, I texted her. If she needs something, she can just call me. That kind of thing. Okay. Okay. All right. And it's not an emergency. She's just gonna drop off my son before she goes and gets our daughter from school. So, okay. What was I saying? Yeah. Basically AI is it's going to it's just unfortunately, and I have to say, it's like a lot of these images. A lot of these images that it can produce are really good. They're objectively good, but they aren't also. Ultimately, it comes at the devaluing of the thing that it purports to put forth as valuable. There is no. If you flood the world with images that are just. You know, I don't know. It's just like the stuff just isn't valuable if it's ubiquitous, and you know, free or. So it's like people are like, oh, I've got this thing and I'm putting it out there. It's like as soon as AI touches it, it's sort of like there must be something about it that they get out of it where it's like, wow, that's so powerful, but like I've also seen like AI bros say like, it's like they don't know how hard it is because I generate 1,000 images a day, but each one leaves me a little dissatisfied. I have to. They are bland and soulless because they become. It's the cheapification of itself as a commodity. If it was only capable of doing like 1 or 2 images like per hour, it would be so valuable. Like people would just be like, here's so much money, here it is, and oh, no, I want to get the machine next and stuff like that. And then it wouldn't even, you know, it wouldn't really compete with artists because the line to get it would be out the door. But it instead it just sort of like it's just turned its own product into garbage. It's like the equivalent of a crumpled up plastic water bottle. It's like potentially useful, but also more of like just it's sort of crowding its own space. And you know, and I'm really touched that I see that for the most part consumers who understand that they're getting AI are not impressed. It's like when you're trying to do something and you need to talk to a human and you're instead having to deal with like a chat bot, and it's like, dude, this doesn't cut it. Like, you need to get me on an actual person, and now I'm mad because you're trying to basically give me the cheapest form of customer service you could possibly give me. I've tried to tell my clients too, I'm like, you guys can't just put a bunch of AI that, like, I can see all the mistakes that it's making. And it's like, when you put this crap in front of clients, like, they see that you are cheapening out on what you're giving them. This will only backfire on you. And they're like, no, this is the way of the future. This is the way of the future. Well, so was NFTs, and so was crypto. Yes, the Google search is flooded with AI images. So here's what's been happening is anytime I search for it, like even on this project, I tried to search for Zelda. I was like, oh, what does Princess Zelda look like these days? It was like all this is practically porn of Zelda, and none of that is, you know, there's nothing wrong with porn. I like porn, but Zelda is not a, you know, I don't want it to see it go like Game of Thrones, where we've got, you know, jugs and, you know, and wieners and nudity and stuff like that. I mean, as cool as that might be for some, it isn't, that's not quite my cup of tea, and that's not Zelda for me. And so when I see this sort of cheapening, how cheap is that? How cheap is like a deep fake, you know, or Like, and it's like, can you imagine how cringe it would be to be like, oh, I love my wife so much. Here, I got her an AI portrait or something like that. Like, that might fool some, but like, it would just be, for the most part, I feel like consumers, especially like in gaming and art, are absolutely rejecting AI as sort of like, this is crap. Like, we're seeing it and it's crap. We don't want this. They're calling out Magic the Gathering. They're calling out Wacom, the Wizards of the Coast, and pretty much anywhere else they can see it and identify it as much as possible, and basically naming and shaming on Twitter. And I'm so heartened to see that, because that's exactly what needs to happen. Like, I don't have the energy to fight it. I need to make space for putting myself out there and my talents, and doing it in this way is the only way I can think of to show the authenticity and my sincerity. And it's like, I don't want to cheapen this stuff with AI, kind of the thing. I don't need to. It wouldn't be good. So anyway, so that's a little rant. And it's a good thing I wasn't drunk, because I would have been screaming and like ripping shit off the walls and shit. But anyway, that was just a thing that it's definitely something that already affects and has been for the every single project I was on in 2023 had AI touching it to some degree. Oh, except one little job I was on. That was kind of cool. But it was like a golf job. And I just don't think that client, quite, I don't know. I don't know why they didn't, But yes, I have noticed the Google image search just being completely inundated with AI stuff. I tried to look up an image of a bee landing on a flower. I was like, oh, here's a good one. It was like cool. It had a lot of depth of field, like blurry background, blurry foreground. The bee looked like it was so crisp and beautiful. I was like, oh, it's beautiful. And then I noticed the bee had 3 antennae and 6 legs, or sorry, not 6 legs, because that's normal, but it has had 5 legs. And I'm like, this is a fucking AI image. I was like, I almost got duped here. And so that was an orange juice commercial. And the funny thing is, because they were like, oh, a bee lands on an orange blossom. I'm like, okay, so that's what I'm drawing. The client in their own pitch deck put an AI generated image of a baby orange. Oh, hey, Adamatron. First time chat. Thank you for joining. The client had they were like, oh, we'll have this time lapse of a baby orange growing into a big orange, a big juicy orange. And they had the AI generate what a baby orange looks like. And so according to AI, a baby orange is just a small version of a normal orange. But, I'm from California. I've got an orange tree in my backyard. Baby oranges are green, not orange. So it's like, it's not this logic machine. It's just sort of like assuming on inferences and these things that the client didn't even bother to, go in there and actually make the baby orange green. They just said, fuck it, And of course they didn't get the job, because you're pitching it to an orange juice company. You're demonstrating your lack of care, your lack of interest in accuracy. And it's like, if you're going to do that on a small level, imagine what you would do with the actual responsibility of making the job. They didn't deserve that job, so I'm glad they didn't get it. And it just goes to, like, I don't know. It could get to a place where, if it does become like a logic and reasoning machine, it really could start to be of a better use for humanity. But right now, it's simply the conceit of an idea. And it's really, unfortunately, best used to fool and scam people more than anything else. And this is the same stuff with that crypto and NFT shit. It's getting all my spidey sense, all the hair, working in advertising for 20 years, the bullshit detector right here, extremely accurate. and the hype and all the bullshit around it. And I've worked on AI commercials, like commercials for AI, like Microsoft Copilot and stuff like that. I storyboarded those things. It's like this stuff isn't really ready for prime time. They just need to hype it up so that investors won't dump their stock for the next big thing coming along. That's all it is, at least currently. Now, unfortunately, all the fucking shit is getting pushed into all the laser focus of Sauron is right here on AI, and it needs, you know, to harness the evil powers within to you know, to cause chaos, and there's a lot of force behind it. But artists, the halflings, the you know, the fellowships are coming together and doing their best to make a stand, right? So anyway, I love lurkers, and they don't have to announce their presence, but when they do, it's a treat for me. I do appreciate that. Lurkers need not feel any lesser sense of anything. I am here to be leered at, and this isn't a serious thing. This is just a fun diversion for everybody if they're not too busy. Okay, so one thing I did, so you can see actually how cool this looks. So imagine me, you've hired me, and now generally, like, I don't work with all this stuff. Well, this might apply as a general statement. You guys might know people who are aspiring artists or students. They're probably as utterly dismayed with what's going on with art right now. If you feel like it, and I don't try to like hype myself, but this is like a lot of the stuff I'm trying to do is probably valuable information to see the process of, because like what, so here's something that's interesting. I did not go to art school, and I definitely did not go to digital art school. That wasn't a thing when I was learning this stuff. So all of my techniques are self-taught. I've carved out quite a nice niche for myself in my own field. I'm highly regarded, even though nobody's heard of me. And I have a lot to say. And this might be interesting if you have artistic friends or people who draw digitally or are meandering on their creative paths. Because I talk about industry stuff. But anyway, if you know someone like that, tell them about the stream so they can, you know, harass me about how stupid I am or something like that. But the I think beyond just being a formerly handsome face and you know, a deep voice and a ranting personality, I think it could be good education for some. So just putting it out there. That is the thing. Oh, let's see here. So we've met before. Oh, that's fun. But why come? I don't remember. Anyway, I don't want to embarrass you, or if it's embarrassed. So let's not sweat that too much. But that's a fun thing to know. Okay, so let's see here. Oh, this is so small. I know you guys probably can't even see the texts that, like, these layer names and stuff like that. That's not by my design. I think I just need to up the resolutions on some of this stuff so the output is clear. It's not like it's even... You went to a Halloween... You broke one of my potted plants? That's fun. I can't imagine. I'm notoriously inebriated at my... my birthday is near Halloween, so we sort of lump it together. I'm born October 29th. So my wife usually lumps it into a Halloween / Max's birthday celebration, and I just go hog wild. So do you remember what costume I was wearing? Because that would give the that would give an indication of which year it was. Or do you remember what costume my brother was wearing? Here we go. I like this track. You were dressed as Max Payne. Order whiskey and replace them. That's fun. Well, I'm glad you were creative about it. I'll ask my wife if she remembers someone breaking a potted plant at our house, because that sounds like a lot of fun. She has a good memory for that sort of stuff. Okay, so here's a little bit of industry jargon. The what is the name of the white space in between panels in a comic book? Does anybody know? In 5, 4, 3. No one should know this. It's called the gutter. I don't know. Someone, according to Stan Lee or something like that. But what's fun about that is in a storyboard and in a comic book, the very good, very good. In a comic book, the gutter, the place in between two images, is where you as a viewer fill in the continuity. Comic books and potentially storyboards are engaging because they tell a story. The amount of story that is actually told in a comic book is like a sliver. And 99% of the entire story that you put together in your head actually takes place in the margins, the space in between the frames. In the negative space, that's what you fill in. So that's where your imagination is activated. It links the two images together. How do you link what's happening in this image to what happens next? Your brain interpolates all of the things, and it engages you so much. That's the secret, is you're the secret sauce. And so in that, I've got the gutter here represented. I like to make sure that the panels are laid out so that they represent now these are not I know I make this all about storyboarding, but storyboarding is sequential storytelling, and what's happening here are different key moments potential key moments in a story. And these are unrelated sequentially. These are just this is like a highlight reel. This is like a trailer kind of a thing. We've got Link facing different bad guys or whatever, but that's not to suggest that like what's happening in this image takes place before this one and with this one and then this one kind of a thing. This is just like cool hype art kind of a thing. Do you think it's equally important what you leave to the imagination? Yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Hold on, I'm going to read some of these texts. Having fun with Holland. 2 years ago, cheap I had to check line. Yeah. And I've dabbled with AI tools too. I need to know what the devil is doing. You know what I mean? And I've seen powerful things it can do even in storyboarding. It's like, okay, I can use this to colorize an image, Potentially I could feed these in and do some prompting and have a perfectly good finished image. Because with this much context, the computer would fill in the gaps. I don't want to do anything like that. That's icky. It's cringe. It's evil. It's unethical. And if I did it, I couldn't, stand on my moral high ground, my pinky in the air, All right, let's see. Reading the Moon Knight run that's sort of famous for using the white space to almost blur the edges of the frames. Oh, I like that. Creative use of negative space is very cool. There was an innocent time when it wasn't so disruptive, where like AI, oh, cool, and then it's like, hey, what is AI? If I use Photoshop to upscale an image, isn't that using algorithms and AI and stuff like that? I'm like, that's not what we're talking about. That's not the same thing as digesting, the entire corpus of humanity's creative output and then regurgitating it via text to image search, basically. And I know a good bit of copyright and law and stuff like that. There's one of the few books I've actually read is this artist guidebook to copyright and stuff. And it's a legal, morass. Copyright isn't understood very well by anybody. So, but this is going to be the battle for Middle Earth. All these lawsuits happening right now. They're going to have to sit down and figure out what's going on. But I'll tell you this: the Copyright Office is not this thing that just rolls over. It's a serious thing. It's a very serious thing. In the United States, property is more valuable than people in a lot of ways. So this is not a we'll just sort of do our own thing and then bribe the officials to get into it kind of a thing. It's tricky, we'll see. If you could, would you feed an AI your work and use it for your own good? This is something I've considered because I've counted, I had the computer count. I've got 65,000 digital drawings that I've done as basically storyboards. Some of those are rough frames, some of them are finished. It's entirely possible that with the right team and strategy, you could train a computer to draw like I do, and in fact be able to interpret my rough drawings and finish them as completed ones. But I like drawing, and I don't want to, I've had offers to be like, hey Max, do you want to direct? Do you want to blah blah blah? And I'm like, I like drawing my ass off. I like feeling like I'm doing this and contributing and being part of a team and working competitively and feeling that rush. I like the deadlines. I like the hard work. I'm good at it. It's fun. It's like a test. It's like a game, and I don't want that to go away. I've finally gotten a good place, and now it all wants to change. Now I'm like, no. So I'm sure it's made understandable, at least somewhat on purpose. I'm not sure if I follow that statement, but I'm optimistic. I think that eventually. Oh yeah, copyright law, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's a lot of legalese, and then a lot of judgments were made, in my opinion, erroneously about like, oh well, that's infringing. And I'm like, well, that's not infringing, not according to this other thing. But again, and sometimes this stuff goes to the Supreme Court, and again, who's on the fucking Supreme Court? A bunch of old ass dudes, some women, I guess, but people who aren't creatives and don't understand this stuff. So it's like, this could just easily go bad as it could go good, but I don't know. But really, what I think will be the thing is just hopefully consumers just reject it as this kind of, the internet's a bunch of tubes, it's just, yeah. I don't know. It's like half these people can't work their cell phones. How are they going to make decisions about technology and copyright law? Exactly. That was, ironically, giving Mickey Mouse 100 more years of copyright is probably going to save our asses, because the reasoning they did to do that was probably understanding that protected IPs are potentially worth more than, I don't know. At least in the right hands. I don't know. Or, I don't know. All right. One thing I like to do is on cool projects like this, where I want to make them look edgy, instead of having white space, I'll give it like a black space or dark gray. So let's do that. Oh, this is a funny color picker. Does anybody ever mess around with RGB sliders? I think web dev stuff often includes some amount of technical coloring stuff. The I'm not a genius, but I know that if all these numbers are the same, that'll be a sort of middle gray. Yeah, I use in Painter they call it HSB, the same thing, hue, saturation, and brightness. That's a little more intuitive for me. The hex I don't understand it, but I get, you know, this stuff's useful in certain ways. But when I color, I actually do a lot with the RGB sliders because I have a method, or it's not my method. I did not invent it, but my buddy, who is a brilliant director and a brilliant artist and a brilliant painter, showed me his method, and he got it some random place online. And then I was like, cool, send me that link. And he's like, I don't know where it is. I lost the link. So he retained the information and passed it on to me, but I cannot attribute it to a source, and neither can he. Isn't that funny? But I've yet to see other artists use the RGB sliders as their, at least in the method that I will eventually demonstrate. The RGB sliders is how I use to calculate realistic color. And it is a very unique and fun thing to watch. Hex is basically RGB. First two digits are for red, next two for green. Oh, the last two are for blue. Oh, I did not know that. But isn't it? Oh yeah, but the digits are like 2D F6, you know, right? 3G, you know, goes all the way up to G, or is it H or something, right? Okay, so let's make a darker gray than that. We'll keep all these numbers the same. Okay. 43, 43, 43. That looks dark. Looks practically black, but let's fill this in and see what happens. From 0 to FF. Whew. Okay. So this looks cool. I think it looks edgier to have work presented this way. It's like dark mode, right? But it might be too dark. Let's bump it up a bit. Okay. That looks cool. Feels good. Because I want the blacks to read against the gray gutter. So this is cool. This is a fun working template that, yes, throw the link in. Audience participation, very much encouraged. Anybody can pop in, unless you're a bot. Adamatron, I don't know if you were here for it, but I had my first spam bot on this stream. Yes, mine as well. And the only thing not grateful for darkness on these things are printers, because they use up all the dark toner when you try to print them out. I truly made it, yeah. And this also, I had my first interrupting wife call that needed to be answered or I would die. Okay, so let's see here. Oh, this is fun. Yeah, so I see what you're talking about here. The questionable positive negative space happening here in the cape. Very clear. And then this is cool, like the flatness of the the moon disk being thrown. So that's okay. So I look at stuff like this and I'm like, ugh. None of it's bad. I just would have drawn it differently. But this is good. What I don't like... Sorry, I do this. But this is an educational stream. It feels like both of these hands are coming towards us in space. And the far hand needs to go away in space. It's not too... Where's my thing? Here it is. It just needs to... Oh shit, that's the wrong one. I know, I'm being a dick. But it really should be more like this. So it's clearer. Do you see the difference? I mean, I would... It also looks like it's clutching something. You see the difference, yeah? Do I know what I'm talking about or not? This is the thing. And then this is a... There's no reason for that hand to feel like it's clutching, like tension. And then this... Just needs more follow through and a little bit of the thumb under there. Just be more naturalistic. It's okay. I would also just really kick this foot out. Really get the extension in there. It's like being done like halfway. Just do it the full way. You know? Be like that. It's like more like this. More dynamic, more intentional. What they did isn't bad, it's just it needed that little bit to punch it up more. And just a little bit, like, maybe you don't even see any of that stuff at all. I mean, if this was me, let's see here. There, that's better. Oop, yeah. Is that better? The angle of the arm guard also didn't match the angle of the hand. This really needs to go like this. And now it's clear that this hand is going away. It's like moving in... Sorry, that's a shitty drawing. It's going there. And this hand is coming towards us. This knee is good. This knee looks like it's coming towards us. And this knee clearly reads like it's going away. And it's good. Look how much more dynamic that is. And of course well, here, we can still pull up the original. So this is comparatively indecisive. You know, it's not sure what it wants to be. And this guy is like, I just threw something fast and, dangerous at you, kind of a thing. The rest of it I like. The cape is a little, what's happening here in the cape that I don't love is there's too many bunched up details, and it's giving it a sense of arrestedness, like it's, like if something is moving fast, it needs to simplify and actually, like it doesn't need all the little folds. It just needs like a quick, it needs like one stroke to like describe the edge of it. Even if it's this wrinkled thing, it's still like gonna be affected by this stuff. Just like quick, like this. It just feels faster. Compared to that. So similarly, it's like just make these simple holes. Slim them down. It just feels faster. All right, that's my little clinic. If you have, hey, I've got this old sketch. I don't know why it bugs me. I don't know what to do about it. I can't seem to figure out why I can't fix it. I'm stuck. Bring it in. Send me a link. I'll point you in the right direction. This stuff is solvable. It's often much simpler than you think. People think that it's, or they're in a rush to get the good drawing, and they focus on what they're good at, and usually they just add too much detail to the wrong thing, and they skip steps, and then it's like building a house on a bad foundation. Ultimately, you're gonna have to go back and fix it. Just fix the underlying thing. And here, all I had to do was look. I'm like, what's clear? Where are the limbs pointing, and how can we make that more clear? That was it. The rest was pretty obvious. All right, blah blah blah. Okay, my wife and kids are going to be home any second now, so I'm going to save this and call this a stream well done. This was fun. Thank you, everybody. I didn't expect anybody to join in or have anything to say, but this sort of is a fun concept. I'll try to do these on days that I have downtime. I mentioned earlier that tomorrow I'm booked, so this is, but not the next day, so we'll see. No, thank you. I appreciate everybody, giving this a shot. This is not, no, I can hear them coming in the door. So I'm going to say thanks so much again, and come back tonight, Adamatron, and you'll see some cool stuff at 10 p.m. All right. Good night, everyone.